Divine Entertainment. By Orthoris. Chapter 30. A New Friend and a Tour. A few hours after his arrival, Atlas was still alone in his new dorm room. A few minutes after he arrived he got bored, so he started to explore his new accommodations. Since his side of the room was technically empty, he started to take a peek at his roommate's stuff. The top of the desk was barely visible through all the various research papers and foreign magic paraphernalia. Atlas tried to read some of them, but after a little while gave up, the text looking like gibberish from his viewpoint. For a moment he was tempted to look into the drawers too, but two things held him back from going through with it. For one, he just didn't want to be caught rummaging through his roommate's possibly very personal belongings. He also remembered a certain Japanese TV special which had booby-trapped desks, which he didn't want to find out if there was a magical equivalent to. Atlas went to look under the bed, but aside from some dust mites there was nothing of interest. Fresh out of distractions, Atlas plodded down on his rump with a sigh. He had no idea how long it would take for his roommate to arrive, and he didn't just want to wander off. While he was thinking about what he could do while he waited, a faint sound reached his ears. They swiveled around to try and find the source, until they zeroed in on the window. Atlas hadn't paid it much attention until now, but he got up and took his first look outside. The window was pointed towards the academy grounds, making for an excellent vantage point. Atlas opened the window and put his hooves on the windowsill to support his body while he stuck his head outside. From his elevated viewpoint he could see much more than before. Once again he could see how big the free space between the two main buildings was. Just like that, he had finally found an effective distraction. He took in as much as he could. Atlas watched as some professors actually held their classes outside. Each group had about 20 unicorns sitting attentively listening to their professor's every word. Something Atlas wasn't used to from his previous experiences with classrooms. Sadly, they were too far away, so he couldn't listen in on the information they shared with the eager minds of their students. Well, even if he could, he doubted he could make sense of what was being said. Occasional pillars of fire flashed, demanding his attention every now and then whenever some pony attempted a specially flashy spell. Individual study groups could be seen scattered around the academy's grounds. Apparently students in this institution were able to enjoy a lot of downtime for study. What surprised Atlas the most though were the various food stands spread around the premises. While it wasn't unusual to have food stands on school grounds back on Earth, he assumed that ponies weren't technologically advanced enough to effectively execute the necessary procedures. His theory was supported by the fact that ever since coming here he had never seen any stands. But apparently unicorns were able to make up for missing technology with magic. There was even a unicorn selling ice cream. As such, Atlas spent hours just staring out the window, observing the unicorns as if they were the ants in his science project. When the sky was slowly turning a darker shade of color, the door behind him opened. Atlas turned his head to look at the new arrival, curious to finally meet his roommate. An amethyst-colored unicorn stallion with a deep purple mane stood in the doorway, a confused look on his face. His purple eyes met Atlas's silver orbs, the question clearly visible on his features. "Who are you?" queried the purple unicorn. Atlas removed himself from leaning on the window sill to face the stallion properly before answering. "Hi, the name's Atlas. I just arrived today, and I guess I'm going to be your new roommate," Atlas replied. Understanding dawned on the stallion's face as a smile replaced his confused look. "Oh, that was today," he said as he closed the door. "Sorry, they didn't really tell me when you'd arrive. My name's Amethyst Blade, pleased to meet you." When Amethyst trotted into the room proper, Atlas got a glimpse of his cutie mark. It was a blue sword that seemed to glow, surrounded by 4 white stars. "Likewise," Atlas said while holding out a hoof for Amethyst to shake. The purple stallion gladly accepted and shook Atlas's energetically. "So, I was told that I'm supposed to give you a tour around campus. Is there anything you'd like to know before we start?" Amethyst asked. "Well, I was told you'd help me learn, and that you're quite talented. Are you some kind of prodigy? Atlas asked curiously. You could say that. Amethyst laughed. But the truth is just that I was born with a magic affinity. It makes things easier. Amethyst rubbed the back of his head with his left hoof. I hear you're not too shabby yourself, having a twin affinity and all. Apparently, although I'm still not quite sure how that's going to help me. Atlas said. After all, I can't even cast the simplest of spells. He sighed after that statement. You can't? Amethyst asked with furrowed eyebrows. They haven't told you? Atlas asked, equally confused. No, Amethyst sighed. They were really vague about the whole thing. They basically just told me that you're coming, and that I should look after you. The situation turned a bit awkward after that, both of them just staring at the ground thinking about what to say next. Well, no use thinking about it. Amethyst said. I'm sure you'll learn fast enough, you'll be casting spells left and right before you know it. I hope so. Atlas said with a sigh. So what do you say about that tour? Amethyst Blade asked. Sounds awesome. Atlas responded. They both got up, and left their room. Once outside, Amethyst turned to lock the door with a key. That reminds me, they gave me your key. He said while looking at the floating key in front of him. I'll give it to you once we're back, okay? Sure, Atlas responded simply. They started trotting down the hallway towards one of the stairs leading down. So have they shown you around the dorms already, or should we just start here? Amethyst asked while walking. Sharp Quill just explained the rough layout for me in passing. Atlas replied. Nothing too detailed though. Okay, so I guess I'll show you then. Amethyst said. When they reached the stairs, Atlas made to go down, but Amethyst kept walking past it. Atlas followed him, sort of confused. Was there something besides the rooms on the first floor that he needed to see? Amethyst stopped once they reached a set of doors that weren't numbered. Those are the restrooms. He magically opened the door on the left. As you can see, there are several stalls to use, and we have flowing water as well. Atlas nodded. There's a bathhouse behind the dorms for us to wash up. It draws from a natural spring in the mountain, so we're quite lucky. Awesome! Atlas said. Can't wait to test it out. It's really relaxing, you'll love it. Amethyst said while closing the door again. Third floor is basically the same as this one, so let's head down. Alright, Atlas responded and continued to follow his guide down the stairs they previously passed. I guess you've already seen the entrance hall, but just for the sake of the tour, this is a general meeting spot. Amethyst Blade continued on towards the dining hall Atlas was only able to catch a glimpse of before. The dining hall was a lot bigger than Atlas first assumed. Rows upon rows of tables were set. By Atlas's estimation as a chef on Earth, it would easily be able to seat 1,000 ponies. Judging by the fact that the hall, as it should properly be called, spanned almost the whole left side of the building, although a guess of the capacity wouldn't surprise him if true. This is our dining hall. Amethyst explained. There are 2 meals served every day for free, breakfast and dinner. Most ponies only eat something light for lunch. The food stands outside are favored by most students and teachers. You can still come in here to buy some sandwiches or similar small foods. So when are the serving times? Atlas asked. A few ponies were already spread around the large hall, waiting for the staff to open the buffet on the far side of the room. Breakfast is from 7 to 10, and dinner from 6 till 9. Amethyst supplied happily. Ugh, the natural enemy of the chef were early mornings, and Amethyst's statement made Atlas remember he would have to get up bright and early from now on. Something wrong? Amethyst asked with a raised eyebrow. No, it's nothing. Atlas said hastily. Shall we continue? Atlas flashed Amethyst the best fake smile he could muster while trying to summon some enthusiasm. Okay then. Amethyst said, trying to ignore the creepy smile Atlas sported. Only the rec room left in the dorms. Amethyst led Atlas across the entrance hall to where an equally enormous room waited for them. Just like the dining hall, the rec room took up the whole of the building's right side. Aside from a plethora of tables with board games, there were larger games set up. Atlas recognized a few from Earth, but there were also games he'd never seen before. Most of them included magic in some way or another. Well, this is the rec room, you're free to use everything in here whenever you want. Amethyst explained. The amount of stuff in here is amazing, and as such there is no point in me showing you around right now. You'd best come back here sometime and take your time and explore. There's something for every pony in here. This is amazing, Atlas said with an open mouth. The whole thing kind of reminded Atlas about an arcade back on Earth, but with less arcade machines and more physical games. Yeah, there's lots of fun to be had here, Amethyst said with a smile on his face. Sometimes they even hold tournaments in here with prizes and everything. That sounds like a challenge to me, Atlas said while grinning towards Amethyst. Gonna need some basic magic first, Amethyst quipped. 1v1 me faggot, I'll wreck you, Atlas said, doing his best to sound like an annoying little kid. Hey! Amethyst looked confused. What? Don't worry, just an in-joke. Atlas once again had to realize that nobody would understand his references in this world. Yeah, sure, Amethyst said skeptically. Onwards then. Amethyst led Atlas out of the building, taking a direct course for the Academy's entrance on the other side. Well, the Academy grounds are pretty straightforward too, Amethyst explained while they walked. It's more or less just empty space you can use for whatever you want. Some teachers hold classes outside, dangerous spells are practiced in study groups, which are formed with ponies who like to be outside, and just general relaxation. Technically, if whatever you want to do can be done outside, you're allowed to. Although there are security guidelines in place if you want to practice destruction spells or similar things. They passed by a vendor who was selling refreshments. As you can see, merchant ponies capitalize on this, and have set up shop all over. Amethyst continued. No one's complaining though. As such they continued on towards the Academy, Amethyst pointing out points of interest from time to time. After a solid 10 minutes of walking straight they arrived at the Academy gates. Contrary to the dorms, the Academy building was filled with activity. Ponies of all ages trotted to and fro, some carrying documents in their magic, others engaged in enthusiastic discussions. They entered the building proper into a reception hall. Contrary to the dorm building, the Academy building focused a lot more on presentability. Most of the interior was carved from some kind of stone or mineral, the different colors of gray, black and white complementing each other to create an impressive display. Once again, the entrance hall was way larger than it really needed to be. The ceiling went up all the way to the 4th floor, a circular dome of stained glass opening up to the sky. Looking up, Atlas could see the other floors of the building, and railings made from marble protected ponies from falling from each respective floor. The general theme seemed to be circles, as such 2 stairs led into the upper floors in front of them. Starting at opposite ends of the room, they curved towards the center where they ultimately joined and parted again in both directions. In the center of the circle rested a elongated reception area. 4 unicorns staffed it. Over here. Amethyst called towards Atlas, who had stopped in his tracks to marvel at the architecture. Amethyst was standing in front of a large building plan, carved into a massive piece of granite. Atlas approached him and took a look at the map. Every room on every floor was neatly labeled, making it easy to find whatever one might be searching for. This map is going to be your best friend in the beginning, Amethyst said with a knowing grin. The Academy has tons of rooms, so remembering the location of every one is rather difficult. He pointed towards one of the rooms. As you can see, every room is numbered. True to his word, the room labeled as janitor's closet was assigned the number 124. Apparently when he said every room was numbered, he meant it quite literally. We'll get your class schedule over at the desk soon. He continued to explain. Every lesson on it will have a room number assigned to it, so you'll know where to go by cross-referencing this map. There's one on every floor, so try not to get lost. Should be easy. Atlas answered. Atlas was used to navigating even bigger buildings than the academy with the aid of a map, so he didn't think it would be a problem. If you say so. Amethyst said with a raised eyebrow. Come on, let's get your class schedule and get something to eat. I'm starving. Hey. Atlas said. You're not going to show me around the academy? He asked confused. You'll see all of it eventually. Amethyst said, waving him off with a hoof. There's nothing really interesting here anyway. Just hundreds of classrooms that look slightly different, so there's really no point in showing you around. They approached the reception, where Amethyst steered towards a sky-blue unicorn mare with a white mane. Hey Lapis! Amethyst greeted her. The mare seemed to recognize Amethyst as a smile appeared on her face. Hi Amethyst, how can I help you? She asked sweetly. This here's my new friend, Atlas. Amethyst said and pulled Atlas into a one-legged hug from the side. He's starting here tomorrow and we're here to get his class schedule. The mare named Lapis shifted her gaze towards Atlas. She seemed to mull over the new information for a moment before remembering something. Ah, Atlas. The one with the twin affinity, right? She asked him. Yeah. Atlas said hesitantly. Just a moment please. Lapis said before she got up from her seat behind the wooden counter. She approached one of the many cabinets and started scanning the labels on the different compartments. After a moment of searching, her horn started to glow and she pulled one open, scanning through the documents inside. A small folder levitated out of it, while the compartment closed itself again. The folder floated behind Lapis as she made her way back to the duo awaiting her. Here you go. She said and placed the folder in front of Atlas. You'll find everything you need in here. Apart from your class schedule, there are also several other informational documents in there, such as the academy guidelines. Thanks. Atlas said, and pulled the folder off the wooden counter, balancing it on his back. A skill he acquired just recently, and was quite proud of having mastered. Belle was kind enough to teach him in his spare time, and it already came in useful in a lot of places. Balancing things on your back wasn't as effective as using a saddlebag, but still got the job done. Well then, let's get something to eat. Amethyst proclaimed. I'm starving. Okay, to the dining hall I presume. Atlas asked him. You learn fast. Amethyst grinned. By Lapis. Before either Atlas or Lapis could say anything, Amethyst ran off towards the exit. Atlas looked at Lapis, shrugged and turned to follow his new friend. Author's note. Amethyst Blade was kind enough to lend me his name for my OC, any similarities are pure coincidence. Thanks, dude. Mustache. Anyway, welcome Amethyst Blade into the ranks of our ever-growing cast. Also, to whoever was in 4-star swirl last chapter. Ha! Next chapter Atlas will learn some magic. Maybe, Rainbow Wa. Hope you had a good read, and feel free to comment. Once again, thanks to my editor Ambrose and my proofreader Kilobytes for a job well done. Today's chapter was brought to you by the letter E, which appears 1591 times in this chapter. End author's note.